Okay, now this next feature may arguably be the coolest thing I've seen in an electric vehicle. Hey everybody, Shwazy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be talking about over 25 cool, fun, and interesting features of the 2022 BMW i4. But we have a lot to go through, so let's cut the chit chat and let's get started. Okay, so we're actually going to start with what I like to call the meat and potatoes, which is the need-to-know information if you're considering purchasing one of these vehicles. Now, first off, let's start with what is the i4? Well, this is essentially the all-electric version of the BMW 4 Series Gran Coupe, which is essentially built on the same platform as the 3 Series. So think of this as kind of the entry-level electric sports sedan in BMW's lineup. And currently, BMW only offers two trim levels of this i4. The first is the base entry-level eDrive 40, and the second is this upgraded M50 version. And in case you're wondering, this is actually the first BMW all-electric sedan that carries the M badge. So this is kind of your M4 in a way with an all-electric powertrain. Now, pricing can range depending obviously on which trim level you pick. If you choose the base eDrive 40, that one starts at just under $56,000, has about 335 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque, and does 0 to 60 in just around 5.5 seconds. This bad boy, on the other hand, is, like I said, the M50, and this one starts at just around $67,300. And power output is 536 horsepower and a whopping 586 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in this monster is 3.7 seconds. You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh!
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Wow.
Wow.
Although it should be mentioned that it's likely that BMW is kind of underrating this vehicle to underpromise and overdeliver, because there are videos on YouTube showing this vehicle do 0 to 60 in around 3.4 seconds. So take that for what it's worth. Now you can get this in either the all-wheel drive setup like this M50 or the rear-wheel drive setup if you choose to, but that's only available on the eDrive 40 option. So if you want this M50, you're gonna have to get all-wheel drive. Let's talk about the particular MSRP of this vehicle that I have right in front of me. Well, this one with all of the packages has an MSRP of $77,070, which is a pretty good steal considering all of the options you get. But keep in mind, you can actually top this vehicle out with over $18,000 in options and total over 85 grand for this exact same performance. Okay, we can't talk about electric vehicles without talking about range. Well, that really depends on which trim level and what kind of wheels and tires you have, because the base eDrive 40 can get up to 301 miles on a single charge. That's pretty good. This one, on the other hand, with the M50, with the 20-inch optional wheels and tires, well, that's going to actually reduce it by about 70 miles. This thing gets about 227 miles of range on a single charge, whereas if you get the more aerodynamic 19-inch wheels on the M50, that can get you upwards of 271 miles. So still less than the eDrive 40, but a little bit closer to that base trim, whereas this one, on the other hand, does suffer a little bit because of the more sporty appearance and because of the dual motor setup. Now, keep in mind, when I was driving this vehicle earlier this week, it was saying that I could potentially get upwards of 270, 280 miles on a single charge, but I'm not sure how realistic that is because I haven't had enough time to actually test that. But just something to note if you're considering one. Now, BMW actually says you can get between 97 to 109 miles of range on just 10 minutes of charge if you use a DC fast charger. That's pretty good considering if you're going on a road trip, you can just make a quick stop for 10 minutes and get about another hour and a half of driving in your i4. Now, another thing to mention about the battery is both BMW i4s, regardless of trim level, get the 81 kilowatt battery, and you also get 2 years of complimentary 30-minute charging with Electrify America with every purchase of an i4. Okay, now you may be wondering, can I trust the reliability of a BMW electric vehicle? Well, BMW helps alleviate some of that concerns because they offer a 4-year, 50,000-mile limited warranty and an 8-year, 100,000-mile battery warranty. In addition to that, they offer a 12-year unlimited mileage rust perforation warranty. So if this vehicle rusts through in the next 12 years after purchase, well, that's covered under BMW's warranty. That is pretty good. Now, I'm sure you saw this M badge, and obviously I'm sure you're thinking about the M3 because that's kind of the closest competitor to this M50 version of the i4. To talk briefly about the numbers, the M3 has a 0 to 60 of 4.1 seconds and a starting price of $72,800. pounds. So it's about 5 grand more expensive than this vehicle, and it's about maybe a half a second slower. So keep that in mind. This is kind of the bargain vehicle if you're looking for a high performance BMW, and this is the only one you can get kind of an M performance in a Grand Coupe type of styling. Now, in case you were wondering about the color, this is the mineral white exterior, and this is the cognac interior, which I absolutely love, and we'll show off the interior more in just a minute. But that is an option, and you do have to pay for it in typical German-like fashion. Now, another really cool feature about this vehicle is BMW worked alongside Hans Zimmer, which is a famous movie composer, to create an all-electric soundtrack for this BMW i4. So here, take a listen to what it sounds like. Now, this soundtrack is especially evident when you put it in sport mode, and take a listen to what it sounds like. It sounds almost like something straight out of The Dark Knight. Now, for the next cool feature, we have to talk about the regen braking on the BMW i4. This one actually comes with two different options. There's just the regular mode, which is when you're in drive, and honestly, it feels just like an internal combustion engine. You don't really have any additional drag like you would expect with an electric vehicle, and it drives very similar. The only difference is it's just quieter than an ICE. Now, if you put it into this B mode, I'm not really sure what that stands for, but that turns on the regen braking, and I gotta say, it's pretty severe. It's a strong regen braking system, but if you want to get the best efficiency, especially when you're driving downhill, I recommend you keep that on because that may add a few miles to the vehicle's range. Now, the next cool feature is actually just below here because this vehicle has 6 different driving modes. Now, even though you see only 3 here, at the push of a button, this vehicle will actually pull up a menu where you can see all of the different driving modes, from Sport to Sport Boost, which is the most aggressive or quickest version, to Sport Individual. And then I really like this graphic. It's like a volcano or a mountain on fire. I'm not really sure what that is. And then you click Comfort and you've got this kind of rocky road, and there's only one option for comfort. But then if you click Eco Pro, again, really not sure what that is, but you've got 2 different options, Eco Pro and Eco Individual, and those will all adjust the way the instrument cluster display looks as well. Okay, now speaking of sport mode, let's talk about these wheels. Like I mentioned earlier, these are the 20-inch sport wheels that come as an option on this vehicle with the high performance package. Now, we also get a little bit of a glance at other things that come with this M50 trim package, and that includes the M suspension and the M brakes. And as you can see with the blue brake calipers, you could see the little M badge on there as well. And I gotta say, with these 20-inch high performance wheels, it looks really good with that blue background of the caliper. Overall, a really nice look to the M performance package. Now, something funny I noticed on the window sticker is when you option for the M50 package, you actually have a passenger lumbar support delete as an option that's included. Not sure why the passenger lumbar support needs to be deleted if you get the M50, but that's how BMW does it. Now, another option that my vehicle comes configured with is this BMW LED with laser lights. Now, it sounds really cool, but according to BMW, these laser headlights, which are a $1,000 option, actually are 10 times brighter than traditional LEDs. Now, I don't know the engineering of it. I'm sure you could look it up online, but it does provide a brighter, more efficient use of the light, and you can actually see further down the road because of the way that they've arranged them. The other thing that's kind of interesting, and I haven't been able to experience it in my testing, but these headlights will actually use the vehicle's GPS to determine upcoming curves and actually bend the headlights to be able to adjust to those curves. Even more than that, they say that it has this hands-free dimming option where if this vehicle senses another vehicle coming up, either alongside it or on the opposite side of traffic, it will actually dim sections of the headlight so you can still have your high beams on, but not blind the person that's driving the other way. That's a really cool feature, and I haven't been able to test that in my usage of it, but if it does work, that is pretty fantastic. Now, the next cool feature is the heads-up display. Now, Now, heads-up displays are a dime a dozen. That's not really what's impressive here. What I really like about this head-up display is the fact that you have a lot of functionality where you can actually change the station, and even though the camera's not really focusing because it's a virtual screen, of every single station on the radio using your little rotating knob on the steering wheel. That's pretty cool because that is something I've always wanted in any vehicle I've ever reviewed, is a way to actually change through the radio stations and hunt for different radio stations without actually taking your hands off the steering wheel. Most of the time, vehicles have a seek button where you can just go through your preset stations, but I've never seen a head-up display, of all things, having this type of functionality where you can actually go through all of the different radio stations. Now, you still have a seek button to go through your presets by pushing on these buttons left and right of this controller knob. So you still have both options, but if you're like me and you don't want to take your hands off the steering wheel to adjust it on this display over here, and sometimes it's kind of clunky, and nowadays they're getting rid of control knobs entirely, you might as well just keep the rotating knob on your steering wheel and just go through the stations by hand. Yet another cool feature of the head-up display is when this application is activated, this vehicle will actually alert you on the head-up display if there's any uneven surfaces coming up in the next quarter mile or so that you can prep your butt for some of the potholes that you're about to witness. Now, while we're in the driver's seat, let's talk about these screens, because BMW actually says this is a 4K display, which may be one of the first vehicles on the market with a 4K infotainment and instrument cluster display. Now, this one is a 12.3-inch screen, and as you can see, depending on what modes you go into, it will actually adjust the look of it. Now, overall, it's a kind of basic screen, but honestly, I'm okay with the simplicity of it. The other thing that you're seeing is the blinking lights. That's not actually what I'm seeing when I'm staring at it. This is just an infrared sensor that's kind of tracking your eyes and whatnot when you're driving for safety features. But let's talk about this screen, because this is a 14.9-inch screen and it is super high quality. I can believe that it is a 4K screen because the depth of just all the colors and everything looks really good on this vehicle. Really easy to use infotainment screen. I mean, by just hitting this menu button, you can go through pretty much every single setting you want to, but nonetheless, a super easy screen to use. With this screen also comes kind of a pretty cool AI technology. Let me show you what I mean. Hey, BMW, roll down all the windows.
Okay, I will open all the windows.
And there it goes, boys and girls. It rolls down all of the windows. Now, unfortunately, I can't tell it to roll it up, but I could say, hey, BMW, my feet are cold.
Okay, the footwell will be warmer shortly.
So if you didn't hear that, it said, okay, the footwell will be warmer shortly. So stuff like that, and there's actually a large list of different things like, hey, BMW, find me tacos.
I have found 11
And it pulls up a bunch of different restaurants, taco restaurants on the screen. Cancel. That is pretty cool and unique. The other nice touch about this is this vehicle can actually learn your habits. So if, for example, when you're driving to work, maybe 10 minutes in, you always roll down the windows, well, you can schedule that as a habit. And every time you do that from now on, the vehicle will automatically roll the windows down at a certain preset moment. That is pretty cool technology that I haven't seen in any other vehicle. The only thing that comes close, in my opinion, is the C8 Corvette, where you can actually predetermine certain routes or certain driveways or curbs where the front of the vehicle will actually lift so that you don't scrape the splitter when entering into steep driveways. But other than that, this is kind of the first of it learning habits and using kind of like AI technology to understand what's best for your needs. Now, the next really interesting feature about the i4 is it's somewhat built sustainably. And what I mean by that is that BMW actually doesn't use any precious rare earth metals in the development of its electric motors. Instead, it relies on a coil technology which generates a magnetic field. Now, I am no mechanical or electrical engineer, so I have no idea what that means, but I will say it doesn't use any precious rare earth metals, which is really nice and adds to the sustainability of some of these vehicles, which, you know, they're getting a lot of heat in the press about electric vehicles not really being much more environmentally friendly. So it's cool to see an advancement in technology, making it maybe a little bit more environmentally friendly than some of the other competition. Now, while we're back here, I do want to point out the cool looking taillights look really nice at night. And then this vehicle does have the automatic release tailgate, although in my testing, I've had a really hard time getting it to actually activate. Not sure if I'm waving my foot in the wrong place, but occasionally it's worked for me, but not as often as I'd like. So if you use that pretty often, maybe just keep that in mind. Nonetheless, it's really easy to just push the button and the tailgate will open. Now, the next cool feature that this vehicle comes with is a power sunroof. Now, sunroofs are a dime a dozen as well, but the nice thing here is this is actually a little bit larger than your typical sports sedan by probably about 6 inches. It does extend just behind the headrest of the first row. Now, it's not as nice as a full panoramic moonroof that you see in some other vehicles, but it is still nice to have that it's a little bit larger than just your standard sports sedan, and this is what it looks like from the top. Overall, a pretty nice size for the i4. Now, for those of you that know me know that I'm a sucker for lighting, and this is the next cool feature. You have this underglow lighting around the car with these cool looking like waves, or I don't even know what you call it, but it's kind of an interesting design. I haven't seen this done before. Typically it's either just a light or maybe something lit down from the side view mirror, but here you have a pretty cool light that as you touch the door handle or unlock the vehicle, it lights up on both sides of the vehicle. And the other cool touch is this design actually matches the lighting on the roof over here. Look at that. That looks very similar, in my opinion, to the lighting on the side of the car. So they've kind of kept a certain theme to the interior and exterior, and I always love when they add those little Easter eggs or nice touches. Now, staying in the tune of lighting, my vehicle comes with the premium package, which includes ambient interior lighting, heated seats, and a heated steering wheel. Now, the heated steering wheel is activated this way. The heated seats are obviously activated using the infotainment screen, but let me show you the different options with the ambient lighting, because you get it over here, you also get it on the passenger side, and you include it on the rear seats as well. And I'm a sucker for ambient lighting. I love it when it's done really well, and I think they did a really good job here from BMW. Now let me show you all the different colors. So as you can see on the screen, there is probably about a dozen different colors you can cycle through. There are other manufacturers that offer more colors, but it's still nice that you have the option, and it looks really nice. The other cool thing here is if you go in and click on the interior lighting and you hit dynamic light, what this does is when you get a text message or some sort of alert, the vehicle will actually shine the, I don't know what this is, but this is my impersonation of shine. It will shine the interior lighting to kind of alert you that something's going on or that you're getting an alert or a text message. That's pretty cool and a clever use of interior ambient lighting. Okay, now this next feature may arguably be the coolest thing I've seen in an electric vehicle. And I know it's going to sound really silly and stupid, but for those of you that have ever driven an electric vehicle, you'll know that they have insanely quick acceleration, and it's easy to get over the speed limit. Like with just a blink of an eye, you're going to be going over the speed limit, and that's because the pedals down here are very touchy. You know, you push on the pedal and all of a sudden you're hitting 60 miles an hour in a 35 zone. So BMW has a really clever solution to that, and that is this button over here called LIM, or limit. Now, by pushing this button, you actually set an internal speed limit on the dash, which you cannot exceed, regardless of how much pressure or lack thereof that you're applying on the pedal down here. It will keep that same speed limit. Now, for safety reasons, I'm sure, this vehicle actually allows you to break that speed limit by pushing the pedal down to the floor for about 2.5 to 3 seconds. So once you do that, it will deactivate the speed limit that it's set on this vehicle, and it will allow you to accelerate with your head smashing into the headrest. But in other scenarios where you're just casually driving, and sometimes maybe you apply a little less pressure or a little more pressure, the vehicle will continue to maintain that same speed limit and pretty much prevent you from breaking the law. That is a really smart feature that I have not seen on any other manufacturer. And I think it really needs to be included on more vehicles because electric vehicles are a little bit of a different breed. So as you can see on the screen, I just turned on the limit button at 30, and I am pushing on the pedal probably 3/4 of the way down, and I'm still maintaining 30. Now obviously if I let go of the gas, then it's going to slow down, but as I accelerate, it's not giving me that head to the headrest type of feel. It's keeping it at 30 miles an hour. Now for the next feature, I got to talk about the Harman Kardon sound system in this vehicle. Now I used to have a Harman Kardon in my Mercedes C300, and I gotta say, I love this sound system. Now, I couldn't find exactly how many speakers are in this vehicle, but sources say it's between 16 or 17 speakers, which is pretty large amount for a vehicle that's pretty small overall. Now you also get a subwoofer underneath the floor of the trunk, and well, it takes up a lot of space, but that is what adds to the premium sound quality. And I will say the interior sound quality of this sound system is phenomenal. I mean, I could sit in here all day and listen to music day in, day out, because it really is a fantastic system that you really can't portray with a video recording, but you kind of have to experience for yourself. Truly a phenomenal job from Harman Kardon. Now, although this is an M package vehicle, don't be surprised about the fact that this vehicle actually rides really, really well. Yes, it's gonna sound crazy because when you think of BMW, especially of M products, you think of stiff, rough suspension. But honestly, this thing rides extremely smooth. It's always hard to portray that through video as well, but I've taken this vehicle over some train tracks, over some potholes, and this thing does not beat me up inside like I would expect it to from an M BMW vehicle. It really does have an extremely soft ride quality, something you would expect from like an ultra high-end luxury vehicle. And what's even crazier is the fact that this has a low profile 20-inch wheel and tire setup, like I said earlier, so you would expect it to be the worst of the worst. And yet this thing handles and drives like you would expect a luxury vehicle that's costing $80,000. Also, this is obviously an M vehicle because you have the M red and blue colors stitched on the steering wheel of the i4. Now, the next cool feature is you can activate something called Drive Recorder, which essentially is like a dash cam in your vehicle and will use the vehicle's 360-degree cameras to record everything going on around you. And you can actually activate it at different points in time, like before an accident or after an accident, and you can select which cameras you want. Really cool and intuitive features here from the BMW Drive Recorder. Now, jumping into the rear, there's really not that much more to report on cool features aside from this kind of cool lighting over here at the bottom and then the ambient lighting on the door. But the one thing I do want to mention back here is you do have rear zone climate control. So when this vehicle is on, you can actually regulate the temperature and what modes you want and where you want the airflow to go. Now, second row climate control is really not a very common feature to see in sports sedans, so it's nice that they've integrated that here on the BMW i4, and you do have 2 USB ports down here as well. The only thing lacking in the second row is some sort of power outlet, but then again, this is a sportier vehicle and not like a family crossover, so you're not going to use it in the same type of way. Now, another cool safety feature, which is what we're going to be talking about for the next few features, is by pushing this button over here and cycling through the screens, you can get to something called the assisted view, which is where you can actually see all of the vehicles around you. So as we'll pull up to these vehicles over here, you'll see that similar to what you find in like a Tesla, it will actually show you the vehicles around you and give you kind of a cool look at what's going on around the vehicle. And this vehicle will actually light up the steering wheel if it knows that you've taken your hands off of the steering wheel. Take a look at these lights on the screen. The other nice touch is not only will this vehicle keep you centered in the lane on the freeway, but it will actually change lanes for you when you hit the blinker. So take a look at this. I'm gonna hit the left blinker, and the vehicle will automatically change lanes for you. That is pretty cool and something I haven't seen outside of anything but a Tesla. Very good job on the safety system there, BMW. The other really amazing safety feature about the i4 is if this vehicle senses that it's going to get into an accident, it will automatically close the windows and the moonroof, pre-tension the seat belts, and activate the pre-collision braking. The other really cool feature is this vehicle can park itself. So if you have the parking button turned on over here, it will actually seek out a spot and tell you on the screen when a spot has been found. Once the spot is located, you push the button, take hands off the steering wheel, and release the brake to start. And, okay, this is the moment of truth. That is pretty cool. The vehicle just parked itself, and I love the little lights that it shows on the steering wheel. Now, the last cool feature is when you plug this vehicle in for charging, it will give you a lot of cool information, like exactly what point and what part of the day your vehicle is going to be 100% charged, and how many kilowatts of power you are running through during your charge cycle, and then what your battery percentage is and how many miles you have left. You can also schedule a departure time in your vehicle or limit how much charge this vehicle is going to take overnight so that you don't overcharge the battery, because it is recommended to keep your battery at most at 80% charge unless you're going on a long road trip. So lots of functionality with this user interface to be able to get exactly the percentage you want and know exactly when you're going to get there. Well, there you have it, folks. That was over 25 fun, cool, and interesting features of the 2022 BMW i4. Overall, I've been really impressed with how BMW included some really cool and neat, unique features to this vehicle that I haven't ever seen before, and at the same time still staying true to pretty much being the same as a regular 4 Series, except instead of an internal combustion engine, you have a battery power plant. So really cool that they included some advanced tech, but still kept it pretty easy to transition from your regular internal combustion engine into something like this. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for all of the weekly videos. If you want to stay up to date, make sure you hit that notification bell as well, and find me on all the social media at Shwazy_. As always, everybody, I hope you stay Shwazy, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day.